I thought I'd show how I set up my fireworks display. I've been doing this for a little over 10 years, and it's kind of fun, kind of an interesting setup for an amateur pyrotechnician. So the bulk of the main part of my display runs off of these mortar tubes, and they're basically bullet bomb mortar tubes. I buy bullet bombs. I got a buddy of mine that's runs a fireworks stand, and he gets me these boxes of bullet bombs at a discount. So each one of these boxes carries 12 shells and also a launcher tube. So every year I buy about 10 boxes of these bullet bombs. So I ended up with 10 extra tubes. So I keep those extra tubes on hand in case any of these tubes blow out, become unsafe, and I'll just swap them out. But this year, for these brand new ones, I'll just go ahead and add them to another pallet, and then we'll go ahead and fire them up. I got some here that all of these tubes have plastic bases. They've gone to the plastic bases are a little bit wider, and of course they're lighter and cheaper. The older tubes had actual particle board bases, and they were heavier, and if you really are going to set them on the ground self-standing, they would stand pretty well. So what they did is they made the bases a little bit wider out of plastic, so they're not as likely to tip over after they launch. Now what I do is I lay close to 100 of these on a board that's on casters, so I can pre-fuse everything and roll it all out. And then I use these little wood cleats and just go in between the seams and screw them down, and so it keeps them from tipping over or bumping into each other. They still are not super, I mean, they can still rattle a little bit, but they're not gonna fall over, and they're not gonna fall into an adjacent tube, so it works. The other thing I have that I built years ago, when I used to work for the National Guard, we had a print shop, and they used to get rolls of vinyl material on these big Ultraflex print tube, these big cardboard tubes made by Ultraflex. And I took these tubes and cut them into pieces, and the smaller tubes that are inside are actually the exact same diameter as these mortar tubes. So I put 7 of those inside of one of the big tubes, and then filled the whole thing with sand, and then attached 2 to a piece of plywood, and I call these my cupcakes. And these, so I've got 7 shells in a tube. So let's see, so I've got 42 shells right here, and this is the pre-finale. This is where, because I will fuse all of these, each one of these sections together, and they'll all basically go up pretty close in pretty close succession. And then I buy these girandolas that I really like. They're called, I use one of the boxes just to hold all my shells before I fuse everything, but it's called Take Me to Your Leader. It's a 2-stage girandola, and it's a really, really cool firework. It's the shells, it launches up, and then when it hits the second load of powder, it does a second stage, and it goes up and does a really cool report. So I've got 3 of those. I'll have one that goes up right off the top, and then I'll have 2 that go up at the end towards the finale. And as part of the finale, I usually use some type of a zipper cake. And I used this one last year, and it's actually pretty good. It's called Party Meter. And this is a 150 shot zipper cake. So you fuse it, the fuse is right here, and it just goes, the fuse goes down the rows, and these all just go off, and you can kind of tell, but it is, they kind of go in an angle. So you've got some that will go in this direction, some will go in this direction. And then you've got the 4 big ones at the end, and that will be coupled with 2 of the girandolas at the very end, and that'll be the finale. So my next trick is I've got to finish, or my next job for today is I've got to finish unloading my boxes of bullet bombs and get my shells put in my little box. And then I'll start loading the tubes, and then I'll fuse everything up. And I'll show you how I fuse it here after a while. All right, I've got my second mortar board set up here. I took my 10 tubes from my 10 packs that I bought, my 10 boxes of shells, and I went ahead and just attached those here, and I had 2 spares. So I got a total of 12 here. So this will be one load if I've got any spare shells, and I threw my 2 girandolas in the middle. So this will be a fast launch for part of this will precede actually this will probably go at the same time as the zipper cake. So that'll be cool. This will precede, my cupcakes will precede the zipper cakes. And special thanks to my lovely wife for going through and untying all of my shells and getting them ready to load, because these all come taped, and it has enough. These all have enough fuse so that when you drop them down in the tube, it lands at the bottom, and you always want to make sure that it lands. You hear it clunk, you hear it land at the bottom. It's got enough fuse to lay over. So if you're just using this as a one-off, it's really easy to light it and then run and get out of the way, because it's a cannon fuse. It burns relatively slow. Each one of these shells, of course, it has the obligatory warning on the bottom. All of these are made in China, of course. And it says, because of course it must be used in a launcher tube. But what's interesting is that each one has a description of what it does. So this is a silver chrysanthemum, and with the color of what the report is going to be, it matches with this little string that holds the fuse up at the top. So that one's white. So if I go and I grab one that's kind of a lighter blue, you notice here on the top, it says that it's a blue peony with a silver glitter pistol. So you can kind of, if you want to make a whole row of tubes be all the same shell or all the same type, all you have to do is look at the color of the little string at the top, and that tells you what it's going to do. These shells are really pretty standard fare. You've got at the bottom, you've got what's called the launcher load. This is what goes in the tube. This is what actually is the load that will shoot the ball up in the air. So when the fuse, you notice the fuse goes down and it goes to the bottom of the launch load. And then there's a piece of fuse that goes up into the actual effect, which is the ball. And when it goes up in the air, there's a certain amount of time from the time that it launches to the time that this actually reports. So these are all, as you can see, they're all pretty much identical as far as how they look. And so the next thing I've got to do is I've got to load all of these tubes with these shells, including my cupcakes. I've had some left over, and you can see there's some that I've already put in, and these will all be fused. Each set of 7 will be fused together. So they'll all go down and they'll all light at the same time. And I'll have a trick fuse that goes in between the rows that will hopefully get all of these to light more or less at the same time. And we'll talk about fuse here in just a couple of minutes after I get these tubes loaded. So I'm going to talk for a minute about the 2 different kinds of fuses that I use for my show. And these have distinct uses between them. fuse on the right-hand side, the pink one, is it's called a fast hobby fuse according to the label. If you look at the caution label, it says it burns at 1 to 2 seconds a foot. So in other words, it takes 1 to 1.5 to 2 seconds for it to burn through a foot of fuse. That's somewhat slow. It's not super fast. Now, next door to it this is called Lincoln Whip. This I kind of call trick fuse. It is super fast, and if you look, it says 0.3 to 1.25 seconds per foot. So this stuff moves. So if I want an entire section to go very quickly, then I'll use this foot. So I've got a fair amount of the pink fuse, and I'll use a combination of these two types of fuses. Now I have one more fuse, and I don't have much of it because I kind of ran out. This is timer fuse. This is really slow burning fuse. So if I want to delay a row or something like that, or slow down a section of the display, I can just splice a piece of this into, and it'll just slow it down just a little bit, because it burns very slow compared to the pink and the white. But you want to see what the pink and the white look like when they actually burn? Let's go check it out. So I've got two relatively equal lengths of these two types of fuses. This is the pink one that burns a little bit slower. I'm going to use my torch here to fire it up. So let's see what it does. So it burns and it goes. It goes pretty quick. But if you want to see quick, let's take a look at this one. If you blink, this thing's gone. So here we go. I'm gonna have to get a little bit further away because this stuff has a tendency to want to go crazy. You see it? No, you didn't. So seeing those two fuse types go, I'm going to use, and this is pretty much what I do every year, I'm going to use my pink fuse to fuse up the majority of these mortars. And the way I do it is I start, there's a front and back to this thing. The back is back here, and this is where the show will actually start. It can start on either side, it doesn't matter, but what I'll do is I'll take a piece of fuse and I'll just zip tie it twice and just run, and I'll just make and then I'll just serpentine all the way down this plank until I get all the way to the front. And it takes a little bit of time, but doing it with zip ties is a lot easier than trying to tie it or glue it or do anything like that. And the zip ties hold it pretty well. So I'll show you that when I'm done. All right, so all my fusing is finished. And I'm gonna point out a couple of things I did. I'm gonna take this girandola off. That's gonna be part of what start things off. So you notice here on this back row, this is where the show is gonna actually start. I've got the fast fuse on this one row. So this row will go very quick, and then it goes to the pink fuse, which is serpentines throughout the entire pallet. And it's just going to go to each, go down to each individual fuse. And you can see here that I've got each fuse double zip tied to the primary fuse that's going all the way around. And then after it leaves this pallet, it goes to my cupcake pallet, which is all fused with the trick fuse. So it's going to go to all 6 of these cupcakes. So that's going to be 42 shells that'll go up at once, or well, roughly within this, because these are all still cannon fuses. So it's going to light them very quickly, and they should all burn down and hopefully all go up more or less at the same time. And then the last pallet before the zipper is this little guy here, which is basically made up of the extra 10 tubes that I got when I bought the bullet bombs this year. So these are all fused up with the trick fuse. So this circle will go very quickly and then come right down to the girandolas, and those two will go up. And I think probably somewhere in here, I'm going to tap off of this zipper fuse and go to my zipper cake. And that will be the last thing that goes up. So that's the plan. So it's like, so am I gonna light all these? So I'm gonna run up here and light the main fuse and then run? No, we're not gonna do it that way, and I'll show you how. So this is what I use to fire off my display. Years ago, I was researching controllers, and I ended up landing on this one. It's made by Fraze-O-Matic, and I'll leave a link in the description. This is a 32Q controller, or actually igniter, that is battery powered. The batteries are, there are, which side it opens up? Yeah, it opens up this way. So we've got 8 AA batteries, which in the end gives us 12 volts. And that's really all it needs in order to ignite. The igniters, remote controllable. So you've got 4 banks of 8 Qs per bank. So you've got bank A, B, C, and D. Now, this is super overkill for what I do, because I literally only use the first Q, because I am fusing everything, and that ends up running everything else. All I have to do is fire off 1 fuse. So this is, again, overkill, but what's great is that this thing will go a long way off. So if I turn on the power to my battery pack, there's a switch up here to turn on the power, and then turn on the power to the machine, and it gives you, if you're in ARM mode, this tells you I've got 12.6 volts. So, and that's plenty of juice to be able to fire off 1 Q, which is really all I'm going to need. But what's great is when you put it in test mode, this now throws up a continuity tester for all of the 32 channels. And so what am I firing off? Well, these are great little devices. They're called Talon Igniters. And you can get these from Cannon Fuse. I believe I got these from Cannon Fuse, but you can get them if you do a search for Talon Igniter, you can find them. But basically, let me unwrap it here. Oh wow, training. Let me unwrap this here. So, one end has got, so let me strip this. One end has got bare wires right here. This is just a, so one end, as you see here, has got bare wires, and those plug in to your channels here. So in this case, I would plug this into A1 because that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to show you here. Okay, so I've got the igniter plugged into A1, and on the other end of this, it's a little, what almost looks like, if I can get it to focus on it, there it is. It's a little spring-loaded clamp. Oh, if I can get that to focus, that would be fantastic. I don't know if I can get it to focus. Let me try. There we go. So this, as you see, it's just a little clip that has a little rubber band right here that keeps it tight. And if you open the jaws inside of that, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can get it to focus. It's a tiny, tiny little filament. And when you fire off, and you basically what you do is you clamp this around the fuse. And when you clamp that around the fuse and snap it down, as soon as I hit the button on the remote, that little filament glows red hot and it fires off the fuse. Now let's see that actually happen in reality. So what we'll do is, I'm getting the camera to focus again. I'm going to set this right here, and you'll see this glow whenever I turn it on. So I'm going to turn this on to test. So now you'll see, if I block the light, you'll see that my first channel is giving me a green light. If there were a problem, that red light would be lit, okay? If I take one of these wires out of the spring terminal, you'll watch that circuit go red, see? And then I put it back in, probably take 2 hands, and then it goes green. So now I know I've got continuity on this circuit. This thing is ready to fire. So all I have to do is take this to arm, and it is now armed and ready. So all I have to do to fire this igniter is on my remote. I hit bank A. Actually, I have to turn the remote on first. There's a little switch on the side. My little light turns on. So I hit bank A, and then when I hit number 1, you'll see the A light up, and you'll see that igniter light up. And we'll do it in 3, 2, 1. And there it went. That is what lights my fuses and starts my fireworks. Pretty cool. I can do that from way far away and be out of danger. That's the only way to fly, folks. So this year it rained all day long on the 4th of July, almost all the way up to showtime. So I didn't get a chance to record me actually doing the final rig of the display once I got it out onto my driveway. So I'm just going to skip right to the best part, which is actually the display itself. And special thanks to my brother-in-law for shooting this video. So hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and we'll see you next year.